Hi there, Geoff Graham from Addax Business Solutions here, showing you today how eDocs for MYOB Greentree works. The primary steps for processing AP invoices and credit notes is at some point we'll receive electronic invoices in the form of emails and sometimes manual invoice in the form of paper documents from suppliers, whether big or small. At some point we need to digitalise those, whether they're automatic digitalisation from an electronic email, and we may even want to scrape those electronic records for the purposes of automatic data entry. The next step is to actually route these electronic documents for approval. These will go off to the various different people in the business, requiring that they then code and approve it for the purposes of creating that into an AP transaction and ultimately paying the supplier. The next step, if need be, is to recognise that we receive statements from our suppliers, whether it be in an electronic or a paper format, which then automatically becomes a digital record in MYOB Greentree. At some point we're going to want to reconcile our statement to our invoices, credit notes, to our transactions. Once complete, we then want to process that reconciliation to recognise that all the transactions that have been reconciled are now a reconciled transaction. So let's have a look in MYOB Greentree as to how this works. Here we are in MYOB Greentree. The first step is on our workflow desktop panel. Here we have the new original documents having now been digitalised sitting in a panel awaiting processing. Off to one side we have the various different users that we can assign for approval routing. We then have a panel that our approvers would often see, which means that this shows the transactions requiring their attention for both coding and approval. Once they have approved the transactions or the eDocs, they then are routed back to accounts payable and are ready for the process of transaction creation. So let's have a look at how that might work. Opening up the first eDoc invoice on the list, expand that so we can see it a bit more easily. If using scraping, this information will already populate, but for the purpose of the demonstration we're going to manually enter it. The supplier in this case is Zulu IT Services. Entering Zulu and just searching quickly for that. What this is now showing us, it's now showing us that we now need to enter the value for that invoice. And because we've chosen Zulu, it's also showed us the preferred or the areas in which the costing would normally occur. Now, having done this, we simply can save that record. And we can see that it's now awaiting coding, but it has not yet been assigned to anybody. So for the purpose of this, we're going to assign it to our good friend Amanda Alger. And that will sit in Amanda's queue awaiting her attention. For the next invoice, and we'll step through each of the invoices before we proceed. Again, expand it so we can see it a little more easily. 1059 is our reference, 30th/04/2015 is our date, and again for our Zulu supplier. In this case we do have a purchase order reference, 100-155. When I enter 100-155 you get an option there. Do you want to auto match PO receipt lines? In this case, yes we do. We now have to enter our total value of our invoice, 1322.75. And again we're going to assign that to our good friend Amanda, and that will wait in her queue for coding. For our third invoice, again expand so we can see it a little more easily. Invoice number 1062, dated the 31st of May 2015 for our Zulu supplier. For a total value of 1729.75. There's no purchase order reference in this case, so we're simply going to assign that to Amanda, and that can sit in her queue until such time as she's gone through and coded and approved. So Amanda at some point will see that these are waiting for her, or we can notify her that they are awaiting her attention, and she can now open them up in whatever order she chooses to confirm that she's happy that she knows where to code them. So in this case, she can look at the physical invoice and she can simply come over to her coding area and code the 2 lines of the particular invoice. As we can see now, we've over allocated that. So in this case, we're going to simply allocate it all to server maintenance. We get a fully matched value of 1221. We're going to give approval to this document. And we are going to move it on to accounts payable, and you see it approves in the accounts payable queue. Amanda then opens eDoc number 67, has a good look at it. She can see here that's already applied the relevant lines of the purchase orders that has been matched to automatically. She's happy that that is the correct purchase order and that is ready to be approved. So again, dual level approvals are on. And she assigns it or approves it back to accounts payable, and it sits in their queue. She then opens up the final invoice in her queue, expands it so she can see a bit better. She then goes to her purchase order lines and says, well, it's actually relevant to this purchase order here. You can see we have a not fully matched invoice yet, as the match value is 132275. But she also knows that she wants the remainder to go to this particular GL code. Having now fully coded that, Amanda will, again, dual level approvals are on, approve that, and final approval will put it into the accounts payable queue. Accounts payable will now see these, open each of these as they come into accounts payable. Will now open these invoices in sequence and simply create an AP invoice from each. For the second one, again, create an AP invoice for each. Before we move on though, it's important to note that with the Zulu supplier, with every eDoc received and transacted, they will appear as a eDoc transaction record, and ultimately they will be created into an AP invoice. On the AP invoice created, they will also carry the electronic document that has been transacted against, in this case the physical invoice. So closing that down again now and back to our original, we simply create the AP invoice, all of our eDocs have disappeared, and accounts payable at some point will receive a supplier statement. So for the purposes of demonstration, we enter our supplier name, we enter our statement date, 31st of March 2015, and we enter our total value of our statement, 915750. At the moment there is nothing matched. If we check our show outstanding, it then tells us that all of the invoices outstanding for this supplier total to the full value of our statement. We are then going to say, yes, that reconciles and that is true and correct. We reconcile that and it completes. This completes the processing of our eDocs and our eDoc statements for the purpose of this demonstration. I thank you for your attention. If you need any more information, please go to our website www.addaxsolutions.com or contact us at sales@addaxsolutions.com, and we'll be more than happy to talk to you about the eDocs functionality in MYOB Greentree. Thanks for your time.